Welcome to the Do Zone, where entrepreneurs go to get things done. I'm your host, Josh Thomas. You can find me on all social media at JT Literally. Each week, I bring on experts from a variety of backgrounds to share their secrets on how to optimize performance so you can take massive action and crush your goals. The Do Zone is sponsored by Conversational Funnels. It's the new way to close deals in 2025 that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods everyone hates. We use this method to book 121 qualified sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social posting. Download the free step-by-step blueprint that shows exactly how we did it at conversationalfunnels.com. Once again, that's conversationalfunnels.com. Today's guest is Ashish Gupta. Ashish has had a long journey in business and tech, selling to businesses where he was founder level, managing a $2 billion a year budget at Apple, and now running a fractional COO firm that has turned around over 20 businesses. He is an expert at helping leaders and businesses reach their potential. Ashish, welcome to the Do Zone. Tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I think one of the most important things is first, clarity of purpose. Uh, if you know exactly what you want in life, and ideally you start off with your personal life, and then you understand how does your business intersect with that personal life. Once you have that clarity, now everything flows from that, and it becomes much easier to have that direction, navigational direction, from which you can now start breaking that down into tasks, weekly tasks, quarterly tasks, annual tasks. So I think clarity of purpose is probably the first stepping stone where everything else flows from.
It's kind of like, why are we doing this, boss? Is there a point? Is there a reason for that? Yeah, in a lot of times we waste a ton of time doing things just because somebody else told us to.
Exactly. And maybe just a quick anecdote from my own experience. In one of my previous companies that I was running, I was working probably 12 to 13 hours a day for 6 to 7 days a week for at least 6 months. And I felt like that was the right thing. As an entrepreneur, you need to be sitting in that chair and just plugging away. Eventually,
Stop
uh,
spying on me, Ashish. I don't get, they don't let me out of this chair very much these days.
well, eventually I realized my business wasn't really going anywhere, and I took a step back and I thought about it. What am I actually doing, and why am I doing all of this? It's eventually I realized it just became a habit, a pattern. Not necessarily that I was doing things that were impactful, and I
Mm.
wasn't necessarily doing things that were going in the direction of my purpose. So once I really reaffirmed my purpose to myself, then I started breaking that down into day by day, week by week. What am I doing? And am I doing things that are actually going to move the needle and are actually aligned with my skill sets? So once I started doing that, then I started doing things like, okay, now I'm going to block my time off. I'm only going to work during certain hours. But when I work every hour, I'm going to make it useful. Every minute, I'm going to make it useful and make sure that it aligns with my direction and purpose. And that's where my business really started changing.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with intentionality. Like why clarity of purpose has as much to do with cutting out things that don't need to be done as it does with uh, identifying and indicating the things that do need to be done. And to a certain extent, we have to go through that process of questioning the status quo. Uh, a little anecdote for you. As you were telling me this, it reminded me of this story where there was a family sitting down for Christmas dinner, and the mom of the family like cuts off the end of the ham to put it in the pan and stick it in there. Do you know this story?
No, I don't.
Okay, so she cuts off the end of the ham, and the daughter sees it and says, "Why do you do that?" And she's like, "Oh, well, it's for the flavors and and all of that stuff." And she's like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense." And she said, "Well, I don't know. It's because your grandma did it, and go ask her." And so grandma's there, and she goes and asks grandma, "Grandma, why do you cut the end off of the ham?" And she's kind of like, "Well, it's the flavors." Like, no, 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 no. Mom already said that. Like, I don't know. It's just because my mom did it. And so great grandma is at the nursing home or whatever. And so they call her up and they're like, "Great grandma, why do you cut the end off of the ham?" at Christmas dinner, and she just starts laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And she said, "Well, 60 years ago, when I was just starting my new family, the pan that I had wasn't big enough to fit the ham. So I had to cut off the end." And it started this 6 decade tradition. And so sometimes we really have to ask ourselves, why do we do the things that we do? Is it because it's producing a result, or is it just because it's what we've always done?
Exactly. Yeah, I think this word is not used enough in entrepreneurship, which is being conscious, like just being generally conscious of everything we do, the way we think, the way we act. And especially when you're a leader, you have to be so intentional with how you are in front of your team and how you take care of your team and help them grow. And then with every decision you make in business, if we can just be conscious about it, and then even how business intersects with our personal life, if we can be conscious about it with our time, with every aspect, it changes the way that we operate and the type of results eventually we end up getting.
And I think that's a great segue to, I always ask for some pre-show talking points, and one of the things that really stood out to me is you're spending some of your free time right now building a temple, and you're also exploring how to bring spirituality into entrepreneurship, which to some people, they're like, well, of course. But to a lot of people, they're kind of like, well, how does that work? And so we could talk about, I'd love to hear about your fractional COO stuff, but I've had a bunch of fractional COOs. I haven't had anybody say we need to bring spirituality into entrepreneurship. So maybe dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, and this has evolved over time for me. In when I was a kid, somebody had given me this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's kind of many people use it as a Bible to help you visualize your goals and what you want to achieve and project into the future what you want things to look like. And for many years, for decades actually, I've been every morning visualizing, planning, thinking about the future, and basically being future oriented. My mind is always in the future. And what I realized is eventually that caused often anxiety. It often caused, and maybe some of the things actually did work out as I visualized, and some of them didn't. And the things that didn't work out as I visualized, it caused me a low state of being. And
Hmm.
and I realized that even if I did achieve the things that I visualized, I would temporarily be happy. So for some little bit of time, I would be happy and satisfied and content until now my next goal came into my mind or my next desire came into my mind. So I was always jumping from being, having often low points to having high points, but never consistency in that. And I realized that maybe something's missing here. How do I become more generally content or satisfied? And one of the things that came to me and through reading and learning from others is that if I'm always chasing the outcome of what I'm working towards, and that's what really my focus is on the outcome, then I'm only going to at maximum have temporary happiness. So instead, it should really be about the process, the journey, and making sure that what I'm doing at the moment, I'm doing it to my best of my ability. Sometimes my best today might only be 10% of my capacity, and sometimes it might be 100%. And that's okay. Whatever I'm feeling at the moment, to be okay with that, to accept the state or the capacity that I have today. But for that capacity, really do my best. For whatever capacity I have in that day, do my best. And so this latest business that I have, Scale Up Exec, I um, I wanted to do it a bit different. In the past, my previous businesses, I had all the visions, targets, goals, things I wanted to achieve, numbers I wanted to hit, and many times I achieved them and sometimes I didn't. But in this case, for Scale Up Exec, I wanted to have no vision, no goals, no targets that I'm trying to go after, and instead really just focus on being very present and doing my best in that moment and not worrying about the result of any of that. And it's been quite fascinating since the 9 months this firm has been around. We've grown now, have we've grown to passing seven figures within the first 9 months of the business being there. It was awarded the 100 most promising companies of 2024. It just got a CEO of the Year award for the fractional space, and like all these things that I could have never thought of or planned or even expected are happening. But actually, I'm enjoying more the journey and the process of actually going in and helping different businesses with their growth and scaling. So this is a bit counter to how I've even
It,
myself operated, but it's
it's
fascinating.
like the best plan is no plan. And it's like it's almost evil in how genius it is, right? Because uh, all goals are just imaginary projections and fantasies anyway, right? We're either going to hit them or we're not, but we can't possibly predict the future, so there's no way to really guarantee it. All we can focus on is what we're doing right now.
Yep.
It's sometimes helpful to see where we're going, but it's much more important to make sure that we're doing something right now with clarity of purpose and intentionality, that you're actually, what was it you said earlier, just being conscious of your actions. If you're conscious of your actions, you don't need so much planning. You just need to know what you're doing and is it helping you move forward in some direction.
Yep, yep. And I'm not opposed to planning. I think there's definitely great contexts where planning makes sense and goals make sense and all of that, all the typical things make sense. But even through all of that, to really be present with the current moment. You can even plan very much for about the future in the current moment, but be really present with it when you're doing that activity. So yeah, somehow it's been more enjoyable now, and I'm feeling more of a state of contentment through this journey versus the constant up and downs. And plus, I'm not future oriented so much. So my mind is not somewhere else. And so that allows me, even if I'm going through a challenging activity, I can still be very present and there with it.
I can translate this to some scenarios that I've personally been through. And this probably relates to a lot of people that may be listening right now, where things are bad and the outlook's not good. And I'm not sure how I'm going to make payroll. I'm not sure how I'm going to cover the bills. And I am so uh, just dropped into that moment that I can't see anything in front of me because I'm so focused on the edge of that ledge. I'm not there yet, but I know it's coming. And I'm paralyzed and I'm petrified with fear and anguish. And what I need to be doing, and I've been through this myself. I've like been paralyzed from that moment of like, well, if I don't do something now, I'm going to fall off that cliff. And that's all I'm spending my energy on. But it wasn't until I stopped looking over there and I started looking right in front of me and got myself busy with doing the things that anything changed at all. It's like all that worry is just a waste of energy.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I very much align with that. So it's it's interesting how uh, it is, especially as an entrepreneur, if you ask almost 90% of entrepreneurs what would happiness look like to them, it's usually some end outcome that they describe. Whether
Mm.
it's, oh, if I get the right people in my team, or if I get the right revenue numbers this quarter, or if I get that exit event that I'm really dreaming of, then I'm going to be satisfied as an entrepreneur, and I feel like my experience is complete. But in reality, I was actually just hearing the Howard Schultz, the Starbucks CEO, he his company has done really well, and it's one of the it's had important impact on the world and on himself as well. But still, he felt like he was not satisfied, and he's now started something else because he felt like he wasn't content or satisfied with where Starbucks has gotten to, and he wanted a new challenge or something new. So if somebody who's achieved as much worldly success as him still couldn't be satisfied, what are the chances of us, if we get even to a
Us normies.
minuscule level of that, would be satisfied?
Yeah,
It,
and if you're focusing on that for satisfaction, yeah, definitely. And that's a great nugget of wisdom there that you're sharing. And so tell us a little bit about your new venture, who you serve, and how people can connect with you.
yeah, so Scale Up Exec, it's a fractional COO firm, which means uh, many businesses that are our customers are the folks that are going through existential crises. They're having difficulty either in revenue side, team, or cost. And we come in and jump in, and we work both on strategy and roll up our sleeves and do the work as well. And then the other half of our customers are where a CEO or a founder has reached a skill set ceiling or the business has plateaued and they're not sure how to get to the next level of growth or scaling. And so similarly there, we also jump in, work on strategy as well as roll up our sleeves and do the work to help the businesses get on track. And so far it's been phenomenal. And we've not lost a single engagement. We're continuing to have success with every single engagement that we've seen so far and are making a big difference in the lives of small, medium-sized businesses. So our smallest customers are maybe 1 million revenue a year range. The largest ones are maybe 20, 25 million revenue range. And like for four employees up to like a couple hundred employees. So that's kind of the size of business we end up serving. And industry-wise, we're agnostic. So we have customers across a range of different industries. So it's kind of fascinating, when working with a firm, you get kind of a disproportionate mind share from not just the individual COO who's working with you in your business, but the group experience that comes from behind that with the whole firm. So any problem that a COO is working through with an engagement, there's also all the collective experience that comes from the rest of the team in helping solve those problems. So it ends up resulting in disproportionate benefit for each of our customers. So it's kind of a newer model, the fractional COO space specifically, where you have leaders who are actually holding and building culture, even on a part-time basis.
That's awesome. And where can we go to learn more about that?
Yeah, so it'll be scaleupexec.com and or you can look me up on LinkedIn and I write a lot of thoughts around leadership and entrepreneurship on my LinkedIn as well.
Last question for you, Ashish. What in the world do you spend $2 billion on?
When you're Apple, that goes very fast. But the I had run a portion of their operations, so that meant manufacturing, supply chain, procurement, and my team's goal was figuring out ways to not spend $2 billion a year. So we went through every aspect of the factories, the people there. We had 600,000 people in the factories to build iPhones, and we looked at all kinds of interesting ways to reduce our spend, and eventually had massive impact on reducing that 2 billion down to 1.5 billion down to even less than that. So
Wow.
it was fascinating.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up from here. Thanks so much to our guest, Ashish Gupta, for sharing a little bit of wisdom about how he gets things done and really focusing on being conscious about the present and what's right in front of you. For those who are interested in engaging and learning more about his fractional COO service, you can go to scaleupexec.com. Whether you're on your morning commute in the gym or somewhere out there in the field, snap a selfie, tag me at JT Literally. Show me what you do while you're in the do zone. And one more time, if you want to stuff your calendar with qualified and motivated ideal clients who want what you have, download the Conversational Funnels Blueprint for free at conversationalfunnels.com. That's it. Let's get to work. Hey, thanks for listening to the Do Zone podcast. If you're running a service-based business that's looking to grow this year, let's talk about how we can slingshot you into momentum with a quick injection of cash and sales. Our clients typically see results in as little as 7 days. To learn more about what we do, you could go to factor1.io. Once again, that's factor1.io. We'll see you next time.